Welcome to my much demanded unboxing of the Vengeance M60. So this actually is not my first encounter with Corsair's new gaming series mice, although it is one of my first encounters with what looks like a horrible, difficult to open package that actually, oh I broke it, is not difficult to open or horrible at all. So Corsair has, in their infinite wisdom, figured out a way to do a clamshell plastic package where the product just comes out like that. Like, that's easier than like removing Darth Vader's mask. That's awesome. Incredible. Okay, so now, I'm done talking about how great the packaging is now. Let's move on to the product. So this is Corsair's first real entry into the gaming peripheral, well, okay, I shouldn't say it's their first real entry into the gaming peripheral space, because they do have their very successful headsets and very successful speakers under their belts already, but this is their first crack at a human interface device. So a mouse or keyboard. So the M60, K60, M90, and K90 are two series of products. So the 60 series products are more geared for FPS, and a little bit more about why the M60 is for FPS, and the 90 series are more for MMO. Now, in terms of some of the specs, they're quite similar. So both the M60, which we have here, and the K6 and the M90 have a full unibody aluminum construction. So you can see it does add some weight to the mouse, but personally I prefer a heavier mouse anyway. I use a fully loaded G9 with all of the weight packs in it at work, and I really do like that. So it does make it a little bit heavy, but not unreasonably so. And then you also have adjustable weights here on the bottom, so you can actually adjust not only the overall weight of the mouse, but also where the weight is located in the mouse. So they both have the same 5700 DPI sensor, unibody design. They've also got the same overall kind of ergonomic design and feel. So the difference is that the M90 has a ton of buttons over here, whereas the K60 goes for more of an optimized sort of layout. You don't need a ton of buttons for FPS, but what you do need is your back and forward, whether you want to bind it to grenade throwing or whatever else the case may be. You need your sensitivity adjustments, which are up here. You need oh, that's nice. Russian was telling me that this mouse features a heavy-duty scroll wheel, and I can definitely see what he means by that, because it has a very distinct click. It has a very good click when you're actually pressing on it as well, so it is very comfortable to use. And then what they've also added is a dedicated sniper button. So what that does is allows you to figure out a DPI that you're more comfortable with when you're zoomed in really close up to something. So as soon as you scope in, you're going to want to go ahead, press that button, and that's going to dramatically reduce your sensitivity so you have more control when you are zoomed in all the way. So as we've come to expect with Corsair, this mouse has, hold on, I'm just going to put it down kind of gently somewhere so that I don't scratch the non-slip, I always call them non-slip, no, intentionally slippery feet on the bottom of the mouse. In terms of length, the cable is just over 1 Linus arm span and has a USB termination, which we've pretty much, we take for granted these days. As we've come to expect from Corsair, we've got a nice rugged braided cable, so that should be more difficult to get caught on things than a non-braided cable. Hold on a second. What else we got on here? So I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Here's something that's cool. It actually has, besides an advanced sensor, and I've already used both the M60 and the M90 in a real-world scenario. Really like the way it tracks. Some mice, regardless of what kind of a DPI they're spec'd for, sort of feel better than others. Some feel more accurate than others. I've actually tried the M90 already on a variety of different surfaces, including a cloth pad, a hard pad, a more textured hard pad, as well as just on the Tech Tips table over there on a tablecloth, and I didn't have any difficulty with it on any of those surfaces. Some in particular, you go and you use it on a cloth pad, it feels great. You go and you throw it on a hard pad, like something like, I've got an old SteelSeries SX, that's a discontinued mouse pad now, but it's my personal favorite, and I've taken mice that perform great on cloth, I've thrown them on there, and it glides great. You know, great aluminum mouse pad, but the tracking feels funny. Like it'll judder around, or it'll kind of not detect just right when I'm going in a straight line. It'll move in not quite a straight line. Drives me absolutely crazy. So this one seems to track very well on a variety of surfaces. In terms of the slippy feet on the bottom of it, we've got very, very good coverage. So at the back, on the sides at the back, on the sides at the front, so you're pretty much going to be covered no matter how you rest on your mouse. Speaking of how you rest on your mouse, this is what a lot of people ask me. Ever since we did that ergonomics guide on my NCIX.com channel, what a lot of people ask me is, what kind of a mouse is it? Is it a palm mouse? Is it a claw mouse? Is it a fingertip mouse? And I'd say, if I had to pick one for these guys, this is more of a claw mouse. Although what they've done here at the back, you see this shape right here, is they've created a way that you can actually kind of palm this mouse if you have smaller hands like I do. So you see the way that rests right in my palm there? So I can either rest my palm there, or I can lift up a little bit more and I can use it as more of a fingertip style of mouse. The buttons have, I'd say, about an average travel distance before they actuate. I've had mice that I've used in the past that I find are more like a hair trigger. I particularly find that on razor mice. They tend to be quite sensitive, so you put a little bit of too much pressure on the right side of the mouse, boom, you click all of a sudden. I personally don't have that great fine control with my fingers for clicking, so I prefer something with a little bit of a heavier mouse button. So bear that in mind, you guys. If you're going to go with the M60, I'd say it's about average. Something that I could use comfortably, but I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit heavier as well. Let me see what else we got here. I don't think we're missing too much. Yeah, the Russians reminded me that, you know what, I'll talk about that after, because some other stuff here is cool. So, side-mounted sniper button, aluminum frame and base for improved rigidity and mass distribution, tracking up to 165 inches per second with up to 30 Gs of acceleration and automatic frame rate control, solid metal weighted scroll wheel with rubberized scroll surface. Okay, so we've got all of that stuff so far, but what we haven't talked about is the adjustable lift distance with 5 selectable levels to fit your style of play, and the fact that the mouse also detects when it's being lifted and is not going to move around once you've lifted it off the table, which is a very cool feature and something that can be the bane, the killer of otherwise very legitimate, very good gaming mice, is if you run into that problem where, oh, I've gone over here, I need to lift it up, and it tracks you a little bit back to the right as you try to get back to center. So you shouldn't have that problem, and I have not had that problem in using the M60, or rather the M90, which is the same sensor, so in using the M90 so far. So why don't we just sort of have a bit of a close-up here, so you can see it's what it looks like from the front. There's that aluminum frame. So this, even though it doesn't really look like it's connected to anything, is actually part of the unibody design. You can see it's joined right here. And then it comes all the way out here, folds up at the back, and that is what supports the palm rest at the back of the mouse right there. It looks kind of bare bones, but like, I don't mean bare bones. It looks kind of like exposed, and like you might sort of fall through the actual covering of the mouse, and it might be uncomfortable, but it's actually not, because all the places where you would normally touch are covered with their kind of a non-slip rubberized grippy coating. So it's actually a little bit more textured on the sides, which is a very nice touch, than it is on the top. So on the top it's quite smooth, and on the sides it's got quite a lot of texture. So what, actually here, you can see my skin actually rubbing off on the texture on the side. So what that means is that when you go to lift the mouse, you have, with very minimal pressure on the mouse, due to the curvature of the mouse, as well as due to the texture on the sides, very minimal difficulty holding it up with a thumb and a pinky finger, whereas it also isn't rough on the top. So that's, it's not rough on the top. That's good. So thank you for checking out my unboxing of the Vengeance M60. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for more unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos. And also don't forget it has user selectable reporting rate of 125 Hz, 240 Hz, 500 Hz, and 1000 Hz, which I pretty much assumed it had, and I assumed you would know, but since it's on the box I might as well mention it anyway.